ultimate benefit our families and also the church at large. With all the organizers of this program, may you pour a special blessing. We pray for each and everyone for safety and for protection. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. All right. Dr. Carlos, please go ahead and take your time.
All right, thank you so much. I see here in the chat that there is a couple comments from the YouTube attendees. One of them is if I can share the Excel template via Google Drive. And the answer is yes, I can share it, no problem. So, but I need some time to do it because the template I have is in Spanish and I need to translate it to English. So is there a way I can send you the link, Akan, and then you share it with the participants, or they can also take note?
What we can do is once you do the translation, then we will keep in touch. And yes, once I receive the document, we can upload it in the Google Drive, and they can use it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, let's start the final seminar. Credit versus savings, which one is better? Share screen. This one. All right. Let's enlarge. Are you seeing the full screen or the 2 slides?
2 slides.
Okay, so then I need to change. I want to share this desktop to this one.
All right, so that's the full screen now.
All right, thank you so much. Several questions came in the previous seminars about the use of credit and investments also. So I'm going to try to to answer these doubts, these questions in this last session. We are going to divide this session into 2 sections. The wise use of credit, when it is appropriate to use credit. And then secondly, I'm going to explore the blessings of savings and how to invest in the best way possible savings. To start with this question, which is critical for me. Is credit good or bad? And this is something that you need to think in your mind. Do I view taking a loan or buying on credit something negative and bad, or I don't care about it, or for me it's perfect, I can use credit anytime I want? Under what circumstances is buying on credit appropriate? Under what circumstances buying on credit is not the wisest decision, it becomes inappropriate. And also linked to that is the flip side of the coin, which is, can I save and then buy later instead of buying now on credit and enjoy the thing that I want? Is it also with cash than with credit card? When is it wise and appropriate to use credit card? We are going to try to answer these questions in this final session today. I want to start by going briefly, quickly through several Bible verses that speak about debt. In both Proverbs and Romans, we find that we should not be in debt and we should not be a guarantor for somebody else. Also, we find in Ecclesiastes that if we have that, we as children of God need to honor those commitments and we need to pay them. In Proverbs and Deuteronomy, we found this reality that the borrower is the servant of the lender. And God tells us in the word that we need to be merciful and generous and lend to those who ask from us. Also, I want to share with you a few quotations or concepts actually from Ellen White. I don't have time to share all the quotations, so I will give you just the summary of what she counsels. Number one, she says that debts are the result of not living within income, lack of self-denial, denial from both parents and children, and also from lack of economy, and that debt is one of Satan's traps. She says that debts can weaken our faith. Pay attention, debts can weaken our faith. God wants to help us to spend according to our income. Having debts does not take us from giving to God what belongs to Him, tithes and offerings. She says that we should avoid debt as you would avoid any deadly disease. Nowadays we could say, as you avoid COVID-19, we should avoid that. As we avoid AIDS or cancer, we should avoid that. She says that debts should be paid as quickly as possible, and debts must be cancelled as a requirement of the 8th commandment. What is the 8th commandment? You shall not steal. She says that if you take a loan or if you buy something on credit and you do not honor that commitment, for God, it is like if you are stealing from that person. Therefore, debts need to be cancelled as quickly as possible. Let me share with you briefly about credit. A few thousand years ago, where there was no Visa and MasterCard, where there were no currencies, the world transacted through the barter or the exchange system. I gave you rice and you gave me fish. I gave you fish and you gave me clothing. I gave you clothing and you gave me a basket. This is the exchange or barter system. And this is what happened before currencies. Let me tell you also that that was not God's plan for His people. Actually, in the Bible, God instructed the Israelites to forgive all debt every 50 years in the Jubilee year. Even if you purchase some land, that piece of land should be returned to the original owner. If you purchase any slave in that year, the slave should be let go free. But here, in the last 100 or a little bit more of years during the 20th centuries, we saw a booming of credit cards, especially gaining momentum after World War II, where there was such extra production because everything that was allocated before to army and to weapons was no longer needed, and now all that capacity was needed to sell things, and to sell things people didn't have enough money, therefore they created what? Selling with credit cards, and then this there was an explosion of the bank cards, both credit and debit cards, in the second half of the previous century. And now it seems impossible for us to live without a credit card from one of the credit card networks like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover. And these credit card networks use banks to issue these credit cards. So the credit card issuers are actually banks. In my case, Bank of Beirut or Citibank or whatever it is. And then the merchants, every store, every supermarket, every person who owns a business, they want to collect also through credit cards to facilitate the sale to the customers. The basic dilemma with credit is, can I buy now, or should I buy now, or can I wait and buy later? So if you do not have the money to buy what you need, is it possible to wait and get what you need later? And there is no answer for this question, yes or no. If the answer to the question, is it possible to wait, is yes, then you can actually save money and buy later. If the answer is no, I cannot wait, I need this now, and I don't have the money, then you can buy now on credit, and then you will be paying later, normally in installments. So these two options come as a result of this question, buy now or later. If you save and buy later, then what do you need to include in your budget? The savings to achieve your objective of buying this item, let's say a refrigerator in 6 months. If you need a refrigerator now and you buy it on credit from credit card or credit from the store, then the monthly repayment of that credit until you cancel it. Let's go to more simple example. Let's say you need, or you think you need, an electric juicer because you are already too tired of squeezing your oranges. Now I want to use a machine to help me do it quickly. Now my question is, can you wait, or do you need the machine right now? If you think you need the machine right now and you don't have enough money, then you have to buy it on credit and pay later. But do you really need this juicer machine now? Or you can continue squeezing the oranges for 3 more months. After maybe 3 years that you are squeezing oranges, and save that money and buy after 3 months. The same with a vacuum cleaner. I need a vacuum cleaner. I don't want to sweep my floor anymore. Or do you need the vacuum cleaner now? Because if you cannot wait, you may have to buy on credit. And when you buy with credit, normally you don't pay only the value of the item, but you will pay also the value of the money. You will pay interest. But if you can wait, if you can continue sweeping the floor 4 more months, and you save the same amount that you would pay anyway to pay back the credit, maybe you will be saving the interest and you will be optimizing your money. So the advantage of saving and buying later is that you will save this interest. And sometimes the interest is a huge amount, depending on the interest rate. So when is it smart? When is it wise to buy? I call this credit as a smart option. When? Well, when 3 conditions, one of these 3 conditions are met. For example, some governments give incentives to people to buy vehicles, and they reduce the taxes of the money that you will take as a loan to buy your car. If you cannot buy the car and the government is giving an incentive to banks and from banks to citizens to get a loan to buy a car, therefore it makes sense that you take advantage of this opportunity. If you want to buy a house, for example, and you don't have the money, then the only option might be a mortgage loan from a bank or from a mortgage loan institution. When is that option as smart? When the payment to pay back the loan is equal or less than the rent. If you are already paying $800 of rent and the value of the mortgage is $800 or less, then it makes sense to take the loan because you will be owning pieces month after month, pieces of the house until finally after 20 years or 30 years, you are the owner of the house. Or in the other hand, if you rent your house for 20, 30 years, at the end of the 20, 30 years, what do you own? Nothing. So in this case, what you need to ask yourself is, what I'm trying to buy, is it an expense or an investment? What's the difference between an expense and an investment? Expense is something that you buy and that does not generate income. It's money that is gone and it doesn't bring income. An investment is something that you buy and that thing, that item, that car, that house generates income. A car because you will get a vehicle allowance, or because you will use it as a taxi. A house because you will rent it and somebody will live in your house and will pay you rent. That's the difference between an expense and an investment. When you are thinking about an investment, then it's wise to consider the opportunity of buying on credit. Also, if you buy a tool for your work, or you buy an appliance or a computer, any type of tool that you will use in your work, and if you buy this tool, it will help you to get additional income. Therefore, it becomes an investment, and therefore it may be wise to make use of a credit. Let me tell you that there should be 3 conditions when you consider credit as a smart option. Condition number 1, that the monthly payment is possibilities. And by possibilities, what do I mean? That you can budget the monthly amount that you will be paying back to the person, to the organization that gave you this loan or credit. If you cannot fit it into your budget, then abort the plan. Don't take the credit because you will not be able to pay it back. Number 2, that as a result of paying back this loan, you can continue living with dignity. And number 3, that you can still put God first in your life. Let me tell you that many marriages are destroyed as a result of debt. Sometimes families have these expectations. I need this, I need that, for the house, for the car, for this, for that. And you start buying on credit just to settle between the spouses. And you start having more and more debt. And that, you know, if you don't control it, it's like a small ball of snow that starts sliding down the mountain. What happens when a small ball of snow starts rolling down the mountain? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it kills you. So if you go into that direction, maybe with more and more debt, it may become impossible now to start living within your income. And as a result of that, you will reach financial ruin, stress in the marriage problems, and then some families sadly end up divorcing because of debt. So is credit good or bad? The answer is neither. Credit is neither good or bad. We just need to make use of credit when it is a smart option. It's a good tool to acquire goods of a higher amount that maybe you will not be able to achieve otherwise. For example, for many families, taking a mortgage loan is the only way to own a house. But it requires wisdom to live according to our real possibilities. And how can we measure our real possibilities? Whatever fits into our budget. I suggest that you ask yourself these questions when you consider whether to buy something on credit. What I want to buy, whatever it is. Some people are even buying clothes and smartphones and everything on credit. Or do I just feel like I need to have this? Am I pressured by my peers to get this? What I intend to obtain, as I mentioned, is it an expense that is used, exhausted, or is it an investment, something that will generate additional income? If I experience in the near future a greater personal or family financial difficulty, more than I have now, that prevented me from continuing to repay the debt. Could I sell what I bought on credit? And in that case, could I recover approximately the purchase value so as not to lose all the financial effort I already put into the payments I already made? Do my spouse and family members know what I want to buy? For involved in returning and paying this credit? What I want to buy and the credit I want to take out, which implies debt. Have I consulted with a friend or a counselor or mentor who knows me and knows about finances, who loves me and wishes the best for me and my family? Before deciding on closing the deal and getting this loan or credit to get what I want and assume this responsibility to repay back, have I evaluated together with my family the alternative and the possibility of saving to have those goods or services in the near future? Can I wait? And finally, before making the credit decision, have I prayed? Have I studied the Word of God? For example, these verses, seeking the divine advice that will guide me to preserve financial freedom for me and my family in this important aspect of deciding whether to buy something on credit? I want to let you know that many banks and many credit companies consider good business, in quotation marks, good business actually for their investors to use very aggressive and unfair practices on those who don't pay, the delinquent borrowers, those who cannot pay anymore. And they use coercive legal measures to force them to accept sometimes new credit lines that they say it's a lifesaver, but sometimes this new credit, if you read the fine print, it's actually a very heavy lifesaver that will drag you down the water. Let me share with you a summary of some counsel I gathered from financial advisors. Number one, manage well what God gives you. And with that comes your need to analyze the fine print, the little print in a credit contract, and compare the offers from 1, 2, 3 stores, from 1, 2, 3 banks. Number two, pay the installments fully. Do not pay partially. And do not refinance anything, because normally if you refinance, the interest rates will be higher, you will be paying more on interest. Fulfill your commitment and pay fully every month. Don't take credit if you cannot pay. How do you know if you can pay it? You need to look it in your budget. You need to this credit in your budget. If you cannot add it to your budget, cancel the plan. Pay on time. Sometimes, actually most of the times, there is a deadline for the payment, and if you pay later, there will be higher interest rates or fees, and you don't want to pay more than you should. Pay on time. Be careful when transferring credits from one credit line to another credit line, from one company to another, because normally, as I mentioned, these are heavy lifesavers. For that, you need to read the fine print. Have a good budget and follow it. Don't buy things you didn't intend to buy. And finally, have shopping lists. Many times we buy on credit just because we go out and we see so many nice things that are offered in the store, and we are tempted to buy things we actually do not need. Go out with a shopping list and only buy what is in your list. Let me talk briefly now about credit cards, some advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. What are some of the advantages? You can buy something when you need urgently and you don't have cash. You need something urgently, you don't have cash, you can buy on credit, and then you pay later the next month in the deadline of the credit card. There are less chances of that. You don't carry cash. There are less chances that a thief may assault you and take your wallet and take your cash. Now with credit card, you don't need to carry cash. But there are many disadvantages. One is the possibility of buying whatever you want and pay later. And now it becomes, it brings a opportunities to buy this, to buy that. Anyway, I will, if I cannot pay the credit card, I will get a second credit card. I will transfer the debt from one credit card to the next. I have some family members, sadly, that they have 4 or 5 credit cards and they are transferring debt from one to the other until they have to finally file for bankruptcy, if they live in a country where that is allowed. With credit cards, actually, credit cards are normally requesting the highest interest rates in the market. In some countries, it's around 20%. In some other countries, it becomes 30%. And if in the country is a lot of inflation, it can be 40% or more, just the interest, if you don't pay the whole balance of your credit card. And these credit card companies are not merciful. They start right away legal actions against their customers who don't pay. There is only 1 or 2 cases in which I say there is no risk in having credit cards, and this is actually what I do with my credit cards. I only use it to purchase items that are in my budget. So it makes no difference whether I pay in cash or I pay in credit card. And what I do next, 1 or 2 days before the deadline, I pay full amount of my balance. I never leave 1 cent from one month to the other. And therefore, if there is no risk, because you will be paying no interest. The interest is charged when you pay less than the balance. So the difference that you don't pay is carried forward with interest, and then you will be paying the interest, and sometimes it becomes, as I said before, a ball of snow coming back. But you know that their business is not that you pay the full balance. Their business and their intent and their desire is that you don't pay and that you pay only the minimum balance. That's why every month when you receive the statement, it will say your balance is this, but you need to pay only the minimum balance. And we are tempted to pay the minimum balance. And this is what they want. Why? Because it's very convenient with you, but now they are going to charge you this sometimes usury interest rate, very high interest rate on the balance that you don't pay, and it becomes this snowball from month to month until I know some families that were financially suffocated and they had to apply for bankruptcy. In some countries, bankruptcy is allowed, and it means that your debt can be erased. But you need to be in a blacklist, and for 5 to 10 years, you will not be able to get any credit. So I would say avoid credit cards if you are in any of these categories. Number 1, if you are a compulsive buyer, you have this problem that you want to buy and buy and buy and buy. Or if you lack the willpower to avoid unnecessary, unplanned, not budget items. Avoid credit cards if you purchase before more than you can afford. Don't keep getting into more debt. Avoid credit cards if you were not able to pay the full amount and the snowball started. Avoid the credit card. Don't use it anymore and start canceling your debt. Avoid credit card if your finances tighten, if you have less income, less paying cash. Why? Because when we pay in cash, it really feels the expense. It seems like when we pay with credit card, well, it's not so harmful. It's actually not money, but it is in reality. So don't use it if you are tightened. Just pay with cash so you can feel that it's really money going out. So let me give a few conclusions to finish the first half of this last seminar. Number one, remember your priorities. Be aware of consumerism. Companies want you to buy and buy more, to consume and consume more. And they will entice you to take loans and buy on credit from one store, from the other store, from credit cards. The Bible, actually Jesus said, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Faithful manager. Keep accountability before God. Put God first in tithe and offerings and ask God to help you to be a faithful manager with the rest of the money that you have. Number three, talk with your family, because sometimes we are tempted to buy just making the decision ourselves with credit. But if we just talk with our spouse, that our partner will help us to think more clearly and avoid mistakes. And meditate on the divine advice. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to our life? Be faithful to the Lord in tithes and offerings. In everything I did, said here in Acts, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words of the Lord Jesus himself. It is more blessed to give than following this divine advice. We need to be an example to our children. We need to hold to divine promises. We need to be able to listen those words from Jesus. You were a good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. If we take this credit, are we still going to listen to these words? Before I move on to the next part of the session, I just want to let you know that in the PowerPoint that you can get from Akan later, I will leave here some activities, some exercises for you if you want to do and to calculate how you can return a particular credit. For example, in this one, if you have a $5,000 20%, you can pay 500. How many months it will take you to pay it off? There is a website there that will help you to do these calculations. Also, I want to leave with you these links.
Yes.
To for example, to understand.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Anyone?
Yes, you want to join the seminar? Maybe that person was not listening to us. All right. I will leave these links here in the PowerPoint so you can read what really happens when you don't pay your credit card bill. Don't be fooled, and you will have to pay much more because of the interest. Also, you can read here the real cost of payment plans with zero. There is no such thing as zero interest, as we are told by stores, by companies that want to sell us on credit. You can read here what they are really doing. Now we move to our final half portion of this session, and it will be the closing of the seminar. I want to talk now about the blessings of savings. And we are going to answer these 5 questions. What is the advantage of saving? If my income is not enough for me to live, how can I save? For what goals should I save? How much would be appropriate to save? And where do you suggest me to keep the savings? Let me just, before we go to the question, that there are several on buying by saving in comparison with buying on credit. Number one is that it is cheaper than buying on credit. For example, if you need to buy a refrigerator and you go to the store and you are told that you can pay in 12 installments of $100 without interest. That might not be so true, because if you go further, you may discover that if you pay in cash, the price is not 12 times 100 equal 1,200, but the real price, if you pay in cash, all the money now is really what? 840 maybe, which is a 30% discount if you pay today. And you may say, okay, but I don't have the $840. How can I buy my refrigerator that I need? Well, let me ask you this. You don't have it today, but if you were able to use this refrigerator for 5 years, can't you wait 1 more year? And if you can pay the $100 to the store, if you buy on credit, can you save it $100 every month and then have the $840 in 9 months instead of 12 months? And that this way you will be saving $360 you will have in your pocket if you continue saving for the remaining 3 months. But you may tell me, okay, look, I asked and there is no discount for paying on cash. If I pay in cash now, it's also 1,200. Then I will tell you what, compare the prices of the competition, because you may find out that one of the competitors is actually selling for 840. Or maybe everyone is selling at 1,200. Why? Because the installments are not taken by the store, but rather they will ask you to pay with credit card. And the credit cards are doing this financing of the refrigerator because they are expecting that you will not pay the full amount and that they will make money off you by charging a high interest rate. A second advantage of buying with saving is that you can buy more stuff. Some people buy all their items on credit all their life. But if you, following the same example, can save $360 per year because you buy this refrigerator with savings and then you keep 360 more of the remaining 3 months, you can save in 10 years how much? 3,600. And in 40 years of your work lifetime, $14,400. Just because you save and buy afterwards instead of enjoying now and buying on credit. And number 3, and the third advantage is that it will help you to live within your income. Many people spend more than they earn regardless of how much money they have. They have more salary, they spend more. More salary even, and they spend more. And they are always spending more than they earn, generating this snowball of debt, and therefore they will never be able to save. To be able to save, you need to spend less than you generate. Even poor people, even if I am or you are a poor person, you can lack prudence, you can lack diligence, you can lack economy, and you can still be spending more than you have. The rich people can suffer this, the poor people can suffer this. All of us, regardless of how much we learn to live, we need to learn to live within our income. And when savings becomes a principle in your life, you save always, every month, then you must, by definition, live within your income. Because I said, income minus expenses will be, by difference, what you can save. So if saving becomes part of your lifestyle, part of your budget, then automatically you will be learning to live within your income. So let's go to the second question. If you ask me, look, Carlos, this is wonderful, but I am already in a situation that I'm spending more than I earn. My income is not enough. How can you tell me that I should save? Well, as we said before in the previous seminar, there are only 2 solutions for you. You need to generate more income, and you need to reduce expenses. If your income cannot be increased by additional job or by additional family member working, then I'm going to give you 3 advices. Number 1, abstain. Abstain from buying things. You need to learn to live with it within your income. So abstain from buying. Ask yourself the question: is this expense essential or non-essential? Can I continue living without it? Is it necessary or it's really unnecessary? Is it real or I just in my mind I think I need this? If it's unnecessary, then eliminate. Eliminate. Abstain and abstain until you are able to save. Many times we spend small amounts that, if added together, small here, small there, small here, small there, would become a significant. Some of those or all of those, then to live within your income, and you can actually start saving. Ellen White, in testimony for the church, said, "You have been in a business which would at times yield you large profits at once." She's speaking to a family. After you have earned means, you have not studied to economize. Economize in reference to a time when means could not be earned so easily, but have expended much for imaginary wants. Had you and your wife understood it to be a duty that God enjoined upon you to deny your taste and your desires and make provision for the future, instead of living merely for the present, you could now have had a competency and your family have had the comforts of life. You have a lesson to learn, which you should not be backward in learning. It is to make go the longest way. We all need to learn this lesson as this family, to economize, to reduce our spending, to consider what if we want to buy is not an imaginary wish and want, to start sacrificing and denying our tastes and our desires so we can be able to save and be able to provide for our future and the future of our families. Number one, abstain. Number two, change your habits. Maybe you need to change your food habits, buying what is cheaper. You need to consider this question, sorry. The food I'm buying, is it cheaper or is it fat and prepared food? Is it fat and prepared food or simple and healthy food? Is it cheaper or the more expensive food? If your weakness is related to clothing, is this clothing you want to buy the latest fashion, or can you buy from the previous season or even used item, as I mentioned before? God can help each one of us to make the changes that we need to make. And finally, number three, be consistent. Separate the savings that you budget in a safe place. As soon as you receive your income, give your tithe, give your offerings, and next, separate your savings, put it in a very safe place where you will not be tempted to spend it. Third question, what goals should I be saving for? Well, the answer depends on the stage in life that you are. I mentioned before that we do not have the same saving objectives and goals for our family when we are single than when we are married. When we are without children and with children. When the children are going to school or when we are approaching retirement. What goals to save for depends on your life stage. But in general, I can categorize the saving objectives into three categories: mission projects, emergency fund, and then the rest of personal or family projects. Let me give you some details about each of these three. Mission projects. Maybe you want to, as part of your pact with God, agreement with God, to separate a percentage of offerings to help mission projects. This will be one of your offering lines to have these goals for the world. But the mission project you want to help demands that you save for several months. Let's say you want to help with $700 for a project, and that is the amount that you have in your budget for 1 month, but it's actually the amount of 7 months because you put a percentage that is equivalent to 100. Therefore, you will save for 7 months 100, and when you reach the goal of the 700, then you will give to that mission project that donation offering. You need to save it safely until the amount is reached or the project happens, and then you will have the joy of saving the resources that God entrusted you, and you were a faithful manager. You saved to help in that mission project, and as a result of that, people may get to know the Lord and be saved eternally. The second category is emergency fund. As I explained earlier in another session, emergency fund is a fund that you separate, you set aside for not planned situations. For example, if your son breaks a leg and you need to have him operated in the hospital, or if you have a car accident and you need to fix your car. If you do not have the money to pay the hospital bill or to fix your car, it will generate a lot of anxiety and stress in your family. You will have to go knocking doors. Can you please lend me some money so I can do this? But what will be a different condition? How stress-free you can be if you have some money separated for emergencies. You can just relax and say, no worries, I can fix the car from my emergency fund. No worries, I can pay the operation of my son with this money that I separated for emergencies. Dave Ramsey, one of the financial advisors, gurus in the Christian world in America, he recommends the be between 3 to 6 months of income. So if your income is 1,000, your emergency fund should be 3,000 or between 3 up to 6,000. Why? Because if you lose your job and you don't have any more income, you can continue living out of your emergency fund for 3 months. And during this period of time, you can get another job. He also says that if you have a debt, you should still have some sort of emergency fund. The advice he gives in America is if you have debt, your priority should be to focus on your debt and cancel your debt. But while you are canceling your debt, you still need to have at least $1,000 for your emergency fund, because at least something you have to take care of and plan situations. Also, within the question, what goals to save for, I said that you can save for mission projects, for emergency fund, and finally for family or personal projects. This is all the rest. What is not a mission project, what's not emergency fund, then it's a personal family project, all the rest. For example, a new family can have as a goal to save for to buy the house furniture or the house equipment, or to buy a vehicle, or to change the car, to save for the annual vacations, or to save to buy a piece of land in our village, in our country. Once you approach the midlife, you want to have your own house, and you can start saving for your house, or for your children's education, or for renovating the furniture and equipment in your house, or to change your vehicle. And then when you reach the ending years of your life, your retirement, you need to make plans to save for your rent. Ideally, to have some income while you stop working and you're retired, and that it can also provide for your medical health care. Let's move now to the fourth question, which is, how much should I be saving? Well, there are two perspectives, the total savings perspective and the specific saving perspective. The total saving perspective is like this. From my salary, I save a percentage for all my saving goals. It can be 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%. I save a percentage of my total income. Of course, the higher your total income, the higher the percentage you can save. It's not the same if you have a $20,000 monthly income than if you have a $2,000 income, than if you have $200 income. The higher your monthly income in dollars, the higher also your percentage of savings can be. You will be able to save a greater percentage also as you start getting rid of what? Debts and credit, because the money that was budgeted for paying out the debt now can be redirected, reallocated to savings and to saving objectives. As you increase your offering percentage, maybe the saving percentage may decrease. This is what happened to me. I increased my offerings and I had to decrease my savings. This happens when all your other expenses are at a minimum. Otherwise, you should first decrease your category. But if all expenses are at minimum and you want to give a leap of faith, a step of faith, and increase the percentage of your offering, you may have to consider reducing your percentage of savings. I did that. However, God helped me to achieve even illogical results. As I mentioned earlier, God helped me to even pass that objective of savings. And I was able to do both increase of offerings at the end of the year and increase on savings. The other perspective to the question how much to save is the specific savings. And here you need to ask yourself how much time I need to save for what I want to achieve. Or how much is the monthly amount I can save so in a particular period of time I can achieve the objective. If family desires to have a summer vacation and you budget for transportation and staying somewhere and buying some stuff during the vacation, and the total expense budget for the vacation is $1,500, and you have 12 months to achieve that objective, then how much do you need to save per month? 1,000 divided by 12 months, $117 per month. For example, if you want to change your car regularly, let's say every 5 years, and you want to sell your car and put on top of the money you get from your used car $6,000 to buy the new car, how much do you need to save? Well, you divide 6,000 over 60 months of 5 years, and you will have to save how much? $100 per month. If you want to help a mission project with 700, as I mentioned before, 5% of your income of 800, how many months it will take you to save those 700 to help this mission project? Well, 5% of 800 is $40. Therefore, it will take you 18 months to be able to save the 700 that you want to give to this mission project. The important thing here is not how much, but rather to start today, this month, saving. Second to the last questions, where do I keep my savings? Many people ask me this question, Carlos, what do you think? Should I keep my savings in the bank or under the mattress? Other people ask me, should I save in my local currency here in Lebanon or in the Emirates or in the Kuwait? Should I use my local currency to keep my savings? Or should I think keeping my savings in a more stable currency sometimes? Another foreign currency like dollar or euro. And other people ask, and someone asked today earlier in another seminar, should I invest my savings? Is it appropriate? Is it safe? Well, let's ask these questions and try to answer briefly this question. If the question is bank or under the mattress, let me tell you that if you put under your mattress $100 each month for 20 years, how much will you have after the 20 years? 100 times 240 months, $24,000. How much will you have if you deposit, on the other hand, $100 every month in the bank, and you are able to get 5% annual interest rate on your investment? Well, the thing here is that the bank will give you interest on your capital, on the interest that is being generated month after month, which is called compounding interest. Interest on the capital plus interest. You can actually use Excel or any spreadsheet, and with this simple formula, that you have here on the screen, you can calculate, and you will see that at the end of the 20 years, you will not have $24,000, but rather $41,000. But sometimes there are additional ingredients that you need to consider. For example, prices suffer inflation or deflation. Prices go up or go down. $100 today is not the same than $100 at the end of the year. The value of money normally deteriorates. And with $100 today, you may be able to buy 100 kilos of tomatoes, but with $100 at the end of the year, you will no longer be able to buy 100 tomato, but rather 90, because the price in $1 to $1.10. This will affect both under the mattress and the money that's in the bank. Also consider the bank's commissions. Normally banks will charge you fees, commissions. Sometimes in some situations, these commissions are more than the interest that they offer you. So if the commission is more than the interest, then it's better to keep your money under the mattress. If the interest is more than the commission, then it's better to have your money in the bank. Second question, is it better to keep it in the local or in a foreign currency? Well, that depends on the evolution of the exchange rate between your local currency and the foreign currency. If your local currency devaluates, this is what happened now here in Lebanon. The exchange rate with the dollar is going up, 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 up. That is devaluating. It's each month valuing less. You can buy less things with the same amount of local currency. Then it's safer to save in a foreign stable currency. But if the opposite happens, if the local currency is appreciating, if the exchange rate is decreasing, then it's better to save in your local currency. This applies to both under the mattress and the bike savings also. Also, you can complicate more the calculation because there is one more ingredient in the equation, which is the inflation. There is inflation and there is devaluation, which is the exchange rate. So banks sometimes offer high interest for the deposit in your local currency and lower interest for deposits in the foreign currency. This is what happened here in Lebanon in the past few years. They gave you 15% if you deposit in Lebanese, 5% if you deposit in dollars. But this created a tension in the economy, and the economy finally collapsed. And now we are suffering inflation and devaluation. So you could be able to do some of this analysis. How is the exchange rate going? If it's going up, keep your savings in the foreign currency. If it's going down, keep your savings in the local currency. And finally, should I invest my savings? If I'm going to save for many years for my house or for other family goals that demand many years, should I just keep my money under the mattress or in the bank? Or is it more wise, it is wiser, more efficient to invest in something? Okay, let's talk a little bit about investments. Categorize, even though there are many categories of investments, those that are more easy for us to achieve, general population, which are real estate and financial instruments. Real estate is buying a piece of land or a building that I can rent and generate income from the building or from the land. I can rent the land to some farmer, etc. Financial instruments can be stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and other commonly traded financial instruments that you can get in any investment company or if you go to your bank. So let's talk a little bit about these two options, real estate versus financial instruments. In general, real estate prices tend to rise. For example, in South America, my father-in-law bought a piece of land, small piece of land, 500 square meters, like in the outskirts of a little town, for the purpose of, in the future, building there a house or just having it as an investment. 15 years ago, he bought the piece of land for $3,500. Now the piece of land is worth $25,000. Therefore, it was a great investment and a great idea to keep those $3,500 of savings in this piece of land. Now it became $25,000 if he sells the piece of land. Otherwise, if he kept those $3,500 under the mattress, how much it will be today? $3,500. This development of the prices of real estate depends on many factors: on the economy of the country, on the infrastructure, the roads, the streets, the sanitation, the electricity, the water in that particular area, the shopping malls available nearby, or if there are public transportation available, if there are job sources around. The more of these factors that are present, the more likely that the pricing will increase. If you buy an apartment or a piece of land in an area that is growing, that these areas, these ingredients are improving, then probably it's a good idea to invest your savings there, because it will more likely increase with the pass of time at a higher rate than other neighborhoods, other towns, other villages where there is not so much growth. Let me talk a little bit now about financial instruments. The main two are stocks and bonds. I just want to briefly give you some ideas of what it is. A stock is called an equity instrument, and you are actually becoming owner of a little piece of a company. On the other hand, a bond is a debt instrument, a promise that someone will pay back to another person with interest. So the return of a stock is normally dividends, and then you can make profit with the sell, with the difference between the buy and the selling price of the stocks. On the other hand, the return of the bonds is the interest alone. Is the return guaranteed? Well, in the case of a stock, no. The price of the stock may go down completely and you may lose your whole investment. In the case of bonds, you are guaranteed that the borrower will return to you the capital and the interest. This is part of the contract. There is a risk level involved in every type of investment. And the risk level is based on the expected return or profit. The more profit that is expected, it's not a higher risk. The profit that is expected, the lower and safer the type of investment. Bonds, as I said, is a promise of the person issuing the bond, which is normally a company or a government, and they will return to you the face value, the capital that you invested, and the interest at maturity or in periodic installments every 6 months normally. Stocks, as I said, is a fractional, a piece of ownership that you get from a corporation, a type of company that is called a corporation. There is no promise that you will get any dividend, because if the company does not make profit, if the company loses, there is no dividend to distribute to the stockholders. And also there is no guarantee that when you sell your stock, the price will be higher than the price that you purchased the stock. What is a mutual fund? A mutual fund is a company that pulls money from many investors and they invest in securities. What are securities? Bonds, stocks, and other financial instruments. So they pull money from many things, from many investors. You are one of them, and then they invest in one particular type of investment, type of security. For example, in technology companies, and they will buy stocks and bonds from Apple, Google, Amazon, so forth. Or they have a mutual fund that will be focused on healthcare, or in pharmaceutical companies, or in sports, or whatever type of industry, manufacturing. And then they will invest your funds and the funds of many people into securities, stocks and bonds of this type of companies. Normally, a mutual fund is by definition, it's already, the risk is diversified, because it's not only one stock that you have, but many different into shares, combined into shares of this mutual fund. An ETF, an exchange traded fund, is like an investment fund that is traded on a stock exchange market, and you can buy over the counter or electronically, like if it were a stock. Which one is riskier? Well, it depends on many factors, but in general, stocks is the most risky, the most risk, mutual funds in the middle, and bonds are the less risky from these three options. I will skip this slide, and I want to conclude with this short advice. If you are not saving, pray, set a savings goal, and start saving today, this week, this month of October, your next paycheck, at the end of the month, next week, when you get your next income, you can decide with your spouse, with your family, I want to start saving, if you didn't start. If you already started saving, I want to encourage you to continue making efforts to save, especially for the medium range and the long-term goals for the family. Number two, if your local currency is devaluated, save in a stable foreign currency, like the US dollar, like the euro. Don't keep your savings in your local currency when your currency is being devaluated. If the bank's interest is greater than the expenses, don't keep it under the mattress. Deposit it in the bank. It will be a wiser option. When you save enough in the bank or under the mattress to invest in real estate, I suggest that this is the safest investment to keep the value of your savings or land. Buy a little house, a little apartment in a safe and prosperous place. In the country where you work or in the country where you come from, you can evaluate, see different options and see how God leads you, in which location to invest in real estate your savings. But in each decision, consult God. He is the owner of your savings. You are actually managing His resources. Consult Him, and He will give you light advice on the direction to go. And also consult some experts, financial advisors, professors, somebody who is in business who can give you some advice. And safeguard your savings the best that you can, considering this dancing between the return and the risk, especially when you want to convert your savings into an investment, and go according to your risk tolerance. I also want to leave here in the PowerPoint, if you want to get the PowerPoint later from Akan, a few exercises that you can do in Excel, and you can calculate objectives. How many years will it take me to save a particular amount of money if I can deposit in the bank, or if I can invest in a particular investment that will give me 5% or that will give me 10%. And you can start manipulating these formulas. All the formulas are there. You can just copy the formula, paste it in an Excel cell, and you will get the result. For example, if you want to save 20,000 for the university of your newborn child, how much do you need to save per year? Or if you want to accumulate $500,000 when you retire in 20 years, and you can earn 8.5% interest annually on your savings or investment, how much do you need to save today? Also, how much do you need to save per month if you want to have a particular goal? Let's say $1 million. When I retire in 40 years, now we are 25, you will retire in 65, you have 40 years to save. I want to retire with 1 million, which will give me enough money to buy a house for me, for my children, and then live 30 years until I die. How much I need to save every month? You use this formula and you will get the answer. We finish here, and we can leave the remaining minutes for questions and answers.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Carlos. We have a few questions already here in the chat. Some of these questions I think you need to prayerfully consider. This is not a financial counseling, or where you should invest bonds or foreign exchange. But let's see. Okay, here it is. From Theo Coffee. It says, Mr. Speaker, are you suggesting that I go to the market and see cheaper and rotten tomato? I should buy that one and save money because I'm not endowed enough. Would you like to answer that question,
I
Dr.
like that
Carlos?
question. Rotten tomato. I take notes because next time I give the seminar, I need to include already answers to your questions. Actually, the answer could be yes or no. Why? Maybe you are buying tomato sauce and you are paying $5 for a half kilo of tomato sauce, and you can make your own tomato sauce with the rotten tomatoes for $1. In that case, you can use those rotten tomatoes. But if you are going to prepare salad with those tomatoes, I say no, don't buy the rotten tomatoes. Invest a little bit more money and use those tomatoes, the good tomatoes, for your salad. I'm not saying that because you have little income, you need to buy what is rotten and what is discarded. No, no. But what I'm saying is that you need to make comparisons. And maybe instead of buying grapes that are $3 per kilo because of season, you should buy apples, that the apples are cheap at $1 because this is the season.
All right, thank you. I think when you go to the shop, you have varieties of tomatoes. There are maybe 5 varieties of tomatoes. Some are $10, some are $2. Depending on where it comes from. And so consider, or again, do you need the tomatoes at all? If it is out of your budget, should you be eating tomatoes? Those are some things you can consider. All right, let's move to the next one. Question on stock. Some people view stocks as gambling, as stocks prices are sometimes speculative. What is the Adventist view on this? Is it okay to trade on stocks?
Okay, I speak for the church officially. I can only speak for myself and my understanding of investing in stocks. As I mentioned, when you buy a stock of a company, you become owner of that company. A stock is actually a portion, a slice of that company. If you buy stock from Coca-Cola, you become an owner of Coca-Cola. If the stock holds voting rights, you will be able to vote in the general yearly assembly of the stockholders. Is this gambling? No, it's not gambling. It participates in a business activity. What I would say, if you want to consider stock as an investment, is the following. What kind of stock would Jesus want me to buy? What kind of company would Jesus want me to be involved with? Automatically, you will discard a lot of stocks from things that are harmful, companies that producing things that are not ethical, things that are destroying the world. And you already have only a small fraction of companies that are doing good things and that you would like to be involved. I don't see investing in stocks as gambling, even though in reality, as I explained, the price of the stocks may go down. In that sense, you will be losing your investment, and it was not a good idea. It would have been better just to keep your cash. If the company is not earning profit, even if the company is earning profit, but they decide not to distribute dividends, not to distribute part of the profit to the owners, to the stockholders, then you will not be getting any dividend. You will just be able to profit from an increase in the stock price. If you look historically, for example, at the New York Stock Exchange, in general, in average, there is an increase, steadily increase in time of the values of the stocks. Some years they go down, and then they recover and they continue going up, then they go down. So if I suggest that if you want to consider a stock, you only do it if you have that certain level of security in other assets. First, have your savings secured in a piece of land, or in an apartment, or in a house. After you can save more, then you can consider these other more risky investments, and then consider companies that are environmentally friendly, that would just be happy for you to be an owner of that company, and use part of your savings that you may not be so worried if you lose part of it. And finally, if you want to invest in stocks, don't buy and start buying and selling every day, every week, because this will give a lot of stress, anxiety, and you will lose your focus. Your focus will not be to fulfill your family goals, but rather to be a financial advisor or analyst, a good investor, and you may be following into the trap of mammon and making money your god. And keep your stock investment for many years. Only invest in stocks if you're willing to wait 5 years, even 10 years, and then sell your stocks. Don't invest in stocks for savings that you need to make into cash next year. Only if you can wait for many years, because as I explained, stocks will be a good idea if you can wait long term, more than 5 years minimum.
All right, thank you. That's a very good advice. Don't get involved in speculative stocks trading and buying, selling.
Yes.
But if you know a little bit about stocks, study the companies. As long-term investment, you can invest, and after 5-10 years, probably you can sell your shares and make some profit out of it. But all right, we have another question here. Is it okay to venture into Forex trading? The next is, isn't it considered as some kind of gambling? What about these pyramid schemes where you recruit people to generate profit? Before Dr. Carlos can answer, my stock answer to pyramid scheme is avoid by all means, and don't get involved. Don't recruit people in pyramid schemes. Dr. Carlos, go ahead and share some of your wisdom.
Yeah, let me continue and answer the second question. The pyramid scheme is stealing money from people. If there is no real intention to make some productive activity that will really generate a return on this money that is collected from all these people under the pyramid, and you will be able to actually pay back to your investors, it's a scam. You're just planning to steal money from people. And then you are planning to do the Ponzi scheme, to return to the first investor with money that you get from the second investor. And then to return to the second investor with money that you get from the third investor. This is not ethical, it's not right. We should not be involved in these kind of things. Forex, for me, it's similar to investing in stocks. It's the same concept. It becomes gambling because you don't know whether it will increase or decrease. In that sense, it's gambling because you don't know whether you will get a higher or a lower value at the end of the day. Forex, with it, is investing in currencies and exchanges exchanging different currencies. And there are companies that do this online in websites, very easy to buy combinations of currencies. And they make profit from the differences in the exchange rates. I am not very familiar with this type of investment, and I cannot give more advice than what I know briefly. I don't like Forex, and that's why I don't know very much. I was not into it. I didn't ask more details. I didn't research about it, because making profit just from exchange rate differences is actually the same as having an exchange currency shop in which you buy one currency for, let's say, 1.20, and then you sell the same currency for 125, and you make a difference from the spread between the buy and the sell. Is that legal? Yes. Is it ethical? Yes. There is no problem with the concept itself. It's just whether you know how that investment works, so it will be really profitable for you. And I don't have enough knowledge to give more details of this particular question.
All right, I think our time is all up. We have another meeting coming up 5 o'clock. So unless there's somebody who needs to ask you a question, we'll take one last question. If there's anybody, please go ahead and ask one last question, and then we'll close this session. Anyone? All right. Looks like everybody's happy. Thank you so much, Dr. Carlos, for this wonderful presentation. We've been blessed. God bless you, and we pray that God will continue to protect your family there in Beirut. We are keeping Beirut and all our people there in Lebanon in our prayers, going through very challenging times. Above the pandemic that is going, the economy, the tension, and everything. So just we're keeping you all in prayer. Just a moment. Let me pick up a.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and may God bless each one of you to be faithful stewards and to put God first in every area of your lives, including how you manage your money.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mommy.